The title of the next story is called Salt Sea. There's Jotham. Voices drifted up from the valley, men's voices, angry voices. The servant of Decca has hired men to search for us, the fool whispered. Even in the dark of the cave, Jotham could see he had a little smile on his face. No matter, he continued, they will not find us, and soon they will give up. Hired men have little desire to spend a cold night searching for another man's enemy. Jotham looked at the fool in the little light that found its way into the cave. He looked quite normal, Jotham decided, not at all like a fool. About the same age as his father, but with short hair and no beard. As soon as they entered the cave, the fool had pulled some dead bushes across the opening to hide it. It was a dark night, and Jotham figured that no one could possibly see the entrance to the cave. "Why do you wear the hat of a fool?" he asked finally. The man smiled. "I have found it beneficial at times to appear as someone harmless." Jotham thought about that for a moment, then nodded. "I guess it worked tonight," he said. "Yes, it did, though I wasn't sure for a moment," the fool said, rubbing his neck. Jotham knew he should thank the fool, but found it difficult to get the words out. "Sir Fool, I want to, it was—" "There's no need," the fool said, raising his hand. "You are most welcome. I often find myself the rescuer of small boys in peril." Then he nodded. "And you may call me Nathan of the Essences. I am Jotham of Jericho." "Shalom, Jotham. And how did you come to be in such a nasty place as En-Gedi?" I was chasing a lion away from my flock," Jotham started, but then he went silent. He hung his head and started again quietly. "I got mad at my father and I ran away. He thought I was killed by a jackal and moved on without me." Nathan thought about this for a moment. "It is a dangerous path your anger has chosen. I will help you all that I can, but now it is time to rest, Jotham of Jericho. We must leave this place as soon as it is safe." Nathan pulled a large tunic from a bag hidden in the cave and gave it to Jotham, then filled him with cheese and water from the same bag. "Who is Decca?" Jotham asked. "An evil man, full of hate and vengeance. He comes from the north, a place called Megiddo." "Why is he here?" "No one knows for certain," Nathan answered, "but I heard he is searching for something or someone." Jotham finished the last bite of cheese and then was asleep, feeling once again that he was in the company of a friend. But the bared teeth of the jackal dripped with Jotham's blood once more, and he bolted awake with a cry. "Child, what is it?" Nathan asked, startled awake by the scream. "A jackal," Jotham panted. "A jackal in my dreams. He knows—" Nathan prodded when Jotham didn't continue. "Knows what, boy?" "He knows I'm afraid of jackals." Nathan smiled. "It is no dishonor to fear a wild beast, Jotham." Then he sighed and stood up. "Jackals are dangerous animals, especially the two-legged kind. It is best to travel while our enemies sleep," he whispered. Quietly they gathered their things and left the cave, walking north away from En-Gedi. As they picked their way through the deep ravines and jagged rocks, Jotham worried that he was leaving his family behind. "I do not believe it is so," Nathan told him when Jotham mentioned this. "I have been in En-Gedi for 4 days and no caravan has entered or passed. Such things do not go unnoticed." Jotham spent so much time wondering about his family that before he knew it, the sun was straight overhead and they had walked away the morning. Just after sunrise, they had met the shores of the Salt Sea, and he followed it north ever since. "What's a kite?" Jotham asked finally, the sting of salt filling each breath. "A what?" Nathan answered. "A kite. You told that bad man that you had to get home to fly your kite." Nathan laughed deep and loud. "Oh, that! Well, a kite is a magical toy that flies through the air. I saw it myself when I was traveling to Persia many years ago. They fly as quick as a bird and as high as the stars." Nathan was lost in thought now, staring into the sky. "Therefore a star shall come from Jacob," he said finally. "A scepter shall rise out of Israel." "Do you know what that means, Jotham?" Jotham thought for a moment. "That the spirit of our father Jacob is in the stars?" Nathan laughed, but it was a kind laugh. No, child, though that is a good thought, but in truth it means that the Messiah shall come to us from the family of Jacob. It is one way in which we will know he is the Messiah. What other way is there? Jotham asked. Nathan thought for a moment, then recited, "But you, O Bethlehem, though you are small among the clans of Judah, out of you will come for me one who will be ruler over Israel, whose origins are from of old, from ancient times." Jotham frowned a thoughtful frown. "Does that mean the Messiah will be born in Bethlehem?" "Yes, indeed. It is how Jehovah has ordained it to be." "Give me another," Jotham said eagerly. "Know and understand this," Nathan quoted. "From the issuing of the decree to restore and rebuild Jerusalem until the anointed one, the ruler, comes, there will be 7 sevens and 62 sevens." This one made no sense at all to Jotham. "What does that mean?" he asked. Nathan sighed a deep sigh and said, "It means, my young friend, that I am in disfavor with my elders." Jotham didn't understand this at all, and the look on his face said so. Nathan laughed. "Forgive my little joke," he said. "I believe it means and here he became suddenly very serious. I believe it means that we are very near the time of the Messiah." Jotham's eyes grew as wide as the sun. "How near?" he whispered. Nathan stopped and knelt down next to Jotham, looking him in the eye. "I believe, Jotham of Jericho, it means that Messiah will arrive any day." Jotham had never heard such talk before. There had been stories of the Messiahs for as long as he could remember, but always they were far off in the future, many generations from now. The thought that the Messiah could come during Jotham's lifetime was, well, laughable. Jotham laughed a big laugh. "You're joking with me again," he said. But Nathan's face remained dead serious, and soon Jotham stopped laughing. "But how do you know that?" he asked, suspicious. Nathan smiled. "It is all in the Scriptures," he said, "for anyone who chooses to read them." They started walking again, and Jotham thought long and hard about these things. Then his stomach began to growl. He was about to mention that lunch might be a good idea when they rounded a bend and a village came into sight. "Where are we?" Jotham gasped. "This is Qumran, mine home." As they approached the village, Jotham could see men in long robes walking about, and many young boys carrying water bags or clay jars with long bundles wrapped in cloth. But of all the people he saw, Jotham saw no women. "Where are all the women?" Jotham asked, trailing Nathan by 2 paces. "And why are there so many boys here?" "We have no women in Qumran," Nathan answered, his back to Jotham, "and we bring the boys here from wherever we can find them." And with those words, a cold chill ran up Jotham's spine. We'll find out what happens tomorrow.